Welcome to Heart and Hand, the Rangers podcast, the podcast that likes the football cliche, it's harder to play against 10 men. This week on Heart and Hand, well, that's what we're telling ourselves anyway. So welcome to Heart and Hand, the Rangers podcast. My name's David Edgar, I am your host, and joining me this week is Mr. Ian Hogg. Hello, Hoggy.
How you doing?
I am buggered with a cold.
It sounds it. It does sound it. So the listeners might unfortunately have to listen to my voice a little bit more this week.
Yes, I find that I am swallowing more than I won't go there. But so my apologies, folks. But I'm sitting here with all the Vicks Vapor Rub and tissues, etc. I can get, and tissues that I didn't really need to celebrate Rangers' performance yesterday. Hoggy, what a difference a week makes. We were here recording the flagship this time last week. Rangers had fought a battling draw with Villarreal. They had then gone to Tynecastle, tough place to go, 1-2-1 from a goal behind, and we were so proud of the fight and the spirit and everything they displayed. Since then, 2 matches where it's really been a 180.
Yeah, last weekend we did the flagship last week, and it was quite a buoyant flagship. We'd got the point against Villarreal, a real battling draw. We'd beaten Hearts. The entire world wanted to let us think it was a just victory, but it was a just victory. After, let's face it, we battled our way and really dug deep with 10 men to get the 3 points. I think last weekend we showed real character. We had leaders in the team showing real leadership, proper leadership, and not just game management. Wednesday then came, and it looked as if we had a set of players that had rarely seen each other before. And let's face it, the only change really was Scott Arfield. I think it highlights how much of a loss Scott Arfield is when he's not on the side. And then yesterday, where we had no Alfredo Morelos and no Scott Arfield, and if on Wednesday night, David, they looked as if they'd never seen each other before, yesterday they looked as if they'd never seen each other before and hated each other anyway, because the whole performance was just lax, no urgency, no one on their game. Bad referee decision, yes, but for Christ's sake, we're playing Dundee at the bottom of the league.
Yeah, we can't hide from the fact that a wrong offside cost us a game, because it did. And I think if Rangers had gone 2-1 up at that point, I think we'd have gone on and won comfortably. It was a terrible decision. Again, we'd rant about this. It's guessing. The linesman wasn't up with play. He's behind. He can't see it properly, and he guesses, which goes against what we're told. If they have any doubt, they're supposed to give the benefit of the doubt to attacker. He couldn't not have doubt because of his position. He has to know his position is wrong. He can't see it properly, therefore he can't give it. It's as simple as that. And it did cost us. But as Hoggy said, we still had, when that goal was disallowed, 60 minutes against 10-man bottom of the league Dundee to go on and win, and we didn't force the keeper into a serious save. He had one from Ryan Jack. We only managed 2 shots in the whole of the second half. Rangers didn't deserve any more from that game than we got, and I think I've got a tactical theory. Now obviously I'm not tactics bod Adam Thornton, so it might be a load of bollocks, Hoggy, but I think that Steven Gerrard, in keeping with a lot of young managers who are coming to the fore at the moment, are highly influenced by what I'll call the almost Jurgen Kloppian style of play, which is famously called gegenpressing, but involves lots of pressing, with the idea being that you score goals from turnovers of possession. So what you do is you create mistakes from the opposition, you win the ball, then you quickly move it forward, and it gives you more opportunities to score goals. And I think that's the way they want to play. That's the way they set up. The 4-3-3 is designed for that, the way the midfield is set out, and Steven Gerrard has spoken of playing in that certain fashion. The problem at Rangers is against most teams, that's difficult to play because they just pack the defence with 2 banks of 4, sometimes more. And it means that even if you win the ball, you're still faced up against mass ranks of defending. And if you look at Liverpool when Klopp arrived, famously, remember he would get these fantastic results against Manchester City and Manchester United and Arsenal, and then they would draw or lose games to teams like Burnley or Swansea, where it was a completely different game. And he's had to adapt, and you see that this season with Liverpool, that they aren't playing the wonderful free-flowing football we all loved, but they're winning every week. And I think that Rangers have to change. To me, it suggested by the fact that we do better in Europe, where we can play our favoured style, but domestically, when we're coming up against teams who are quite happy for us to have the ball, who don't want the ball to give up, because they know if we've got the ball and we lose possession, we're in trouble, so they don't take risks. We tend to struggle a little bit against these mass ranks of defenders because we're not set up to play that style. Am I a million miles off here?
All it does, so first of all, no, I don't think you are. I think in Europe, that high press, turnover of the ball, urgency, and passing into space effectively is what we're doing. We just don't get the time and space. Or, sorry, we do get the time, but we don't get the space to do that domestically because all the space is taken up with defenders. And all that happens is what we saw, not last weekend. Last weekend, Hearts were pressing us, so, we did have that space. Wednesday night, when Aberdeen effectively get a goal from a set piece and then have something to hang on to, and Dundee yesterday, who were quite happy with a point, let's face it, there's no space for us to play in. And I'm going to say something, David, and I know that famously you and I did a pod on Mark Warburton a couple of years ago. I am not for a second comparing Steven Gerrard to Mark Warburton, but what I've seen the last 2 games is we're going to play this style even when it's not working, and then there's no change of the style. Instead, we seem to just throw players on and kind of hope that it's going to work, and that's absolutely going to be down to the squad, absolutely. But we have to figure out a different way of playing, especially when we're playing, effectively 10-man defences. We get no space, and therefore it's killing our urgency and killing our pace in the game.
I thought yesterday we did try to change it slightly. We went to a 4-2-3-1, and with Jordan Rossiter coming in. But again, the problem was about the style rather than the formation. And what happened was when Dundee got behind the ball, Rangers struggled to have the creativity in front of them to break them down. And what we resorted to was, I always worry when I see Rangers in that sort of pass to defender to other defender, to holding midfielder, back to defender, back to other defender, out wide, and then the full-back or the winger crosses from deep, and the goalkeeper would catch it, he'd kick it, we'd get the ball back, and the whole process would start again. And we badly missed yesterday. Dundee would mark Kyle Lafferty in the middle, who's not, despite his height, he's not really a target man, if you like. He's not famous for being a fantastic in the air. And we didn't have Scott Arfield, so we didn't have a runner from midfield. And that's why the crossing wasn't working. It would needed to have been pinpoint, and it wasn't. And the tactic was, by the end, looked more like hope. We didn't get in behind. It was very difficult to do so because they weren't allowing us any space. But we couldn't get in behind them. We couldn't get cutbacks. And on top of that, we're talking about all the technical aspects. We're talking about all the formation and the style of play and all that. On top of that, Rangers played badly. I mean, that's the other thing. Rangers' decision making was awful, and that, of course, it doesn't matter what formation you line up in. If players are not making the correct decisions during a match, you're always going to struggle anyway.
Yeah, I think added to that, David, is so technically they weren't quite up to it yesterday. Formation, they weren't getting it right. There's a real failure of a real inability to be able to pass the ball 5 yards, unless, of course, it was sideways or back way. And then add to that, the thing that we also saw on Wednesday night, and it boils my piss that, especially in the last 10 minutes, there's zero urgency in the game whatsoever. We're still passing the pretty passes back, side to side and all the rest of it. Even when it's in injury time, players know fine well it's in injury time, we're showing no urgency. It's just, it's almost as if, and again, I'm going to say something that probably won't go down well with a 3-1. It's almost as if they chucked it. They chucked it and settled for a point because it just wasn't working and they didn't quite know what to do. I'm at a loss, David, to kind of, put it any other way.
I'd phrase it slightly differently. I don't think that they chucked it. I think, though, that they didn't believe they were going to get the winner, which is slightly different. I think they were still putting the effort in, but without any real feeling that we are going to do this. And I agree. I thought that, especially yesterday, the last 10 minutes, it was quite. I thought it was quite obvious. And I've watched the game back this morning, and the last 10 minutes, there wasn't the urgency you would expect. You would have expected the Dundee goal to be under siege, and it wasn't. Rangers kept playing the way that they'd been playing throughout that second half, and just could not get anything going. There was no fluidity. It was a very fragmented display. In fairness, and I think it is a consideration, I know that some people don't want to hear it, but I still think it is a fair point. That was our 32nd game of the year by the start of December, and I think a lot of the players are mentally tired, and I think we've seen that in these last two matches.
That's got to be a factor, because we're going to the well with the same players generally all the time. Or at least the same main players, because I'm sure we're going to come on to some of the players who are being swapped and chopped and changed around. Someone like a Tavernier, like an Arfield, who obviously wasn't playing, like a Morelos, Candeas, Ryan Kent's been out injured because I think he was just done. These guys are being used week in, week out. Ajaria, for example, was being used week in, week out, got injured, come back, looks as if we've got his brother back. It is undoubtedly taking its toll. But we've got however many weeks, 3 weeks till the break, just under 3 weeks to the break, and we're going to have to ask these guys to dig deep again and come back with, five games to the break? We're going to have to ask them to go at it 5 games again. And it's going to be, because of those last 2 results, David, if we want to stay in touch and, make a challenge this season, those guys are going to have to produce performances in these next 5 games.
I think I felt a bit for Steven Gerrard after the match yesterday when people were saying he looked shocked. And I think he was shocked. I think he was shocked at the level of performance he got from his players, because I think he does believe in them, and I think he believes that they're better players than they show. And then they are. They've shown enough. I mean, even just 7 days before, to suggest that they are capable of better. But there was a flatness about Rangers yesterday, and it's not helped by, again, conceding early and conceding a really stupid goal. The ball goes over the top, Joe Worrell completely loses it. Connor Goldson coming in behind makes the fatal and schoolboy error of letting it bounce. And I love the phrase in football, the first thing you're told as a kid, but genuinely one of the first things that I was told when I was playing in defence was never let it bounce, go in and deal with it. And then, if you thought your goalie should have came for it, you should have asked questions. To me, it looked like Connor Goldson was expecting Alan McGregor to come off his line for it. He should know by now that Alan McGregor is pretty reluctant to do so unless he absolutely has to. He should have dealt with it, and then he could have turned round and said, you should have came for that. That's fine. But the defenders were swapped around yesterday in terms of left and right. Worrell, of course, was brought back in. And the defence, I think, has struggled since we began the rotation. Now, there may be very good reasons behind that, such as that we have to keep players fresh. I get that, I understand the thinking there. But for me, there's no doubt that the defence has got worse since we decided we were going to introduce that element of rotation. And maybe it's overly simplistic, but they look like they're not quite sure what they're meant to be doing. And I would think that inconsistency of selection probably breeds inconsistency on the park.
We've got 2 guys, so 3 guys if we include McGregor, who are always there: McGregor, Tavernier, and Goldson. And Katic was injured, and therefore he had to be kind of, almost rotated out, if you like. And Barisic has never really get started because of injury. Flanagan's form down the toilet. But we've had Halliday stepping in, and I think Halliday's actually done very, very well at left back. In that centre back pairing. You remember when Souness arrived? And of course, all farts like us will hark back to those days, David. When Souness arrived, the first thing he did was sort the centre of defence and get Terry Butcher in there as a proper leader in the centre of defence and have a consistent guy playing alongside him. Usually Dave McPherson, and then Graham Roberts, move on Graham Roberts. What Graham Souness didn't do was chop and change him out with Dave McPherson one week, then Ali Dawson the next week, then somebody else the following week. It just didn't happen because the team's got to bed in. The goalie's got to believe in the centre of defence in front of them, and the midfield have got to believe the centre of defence will effectively deal with balls like we saw yesterday. I think for me there's two things. One is chopped and changed continually, so therefore a new team and a new spine of the team is not quite gelling yet because we're changing it every 5 minutes. Then if we add to the mix one of the guys that we bring in, and David, I don't particularly like singling out guys, but I think after yesterday it's quite easy. Connor Goldson had, I thought yesterday, a really poor game. He should have dealt with that, absolutely. You could see, however, I thought anyway, a real lack of trust in his partner, in Joe Worrell, who I just don't get it. I just don't see it. I think he had a good game against Villarreal in Spain, and then since then he's kind of flattered to deceive. It doesn't help, of course, that he's been in and out the side continually. But what I would say is he's not ours. I don't think he's better than what we've got, and therefore firm believer in you play the players that are yours if the loanees aren't any better. And it really bothers me that we're continuing that rotation and really continuing just to disrupt the side every 5 minutes.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point, and one we should talk about, because I did notice from social media last night and from the reaction on our Patreon site, patreon.com/Heartland, that he's not popular, Worrell. And I think partly it's to do with his manner. I don't think he helps himself with some of his off-field comments. He's a very confident young lad. But if you're going to do that, if you're going to make assertions about your ability and then you don't follow it up, then that obviously can lead to an issue. But I think that the main thing is that we had Katic, we liked Katic, he was playing really well, we weren't conceding goals, we looked really solid at the back. Worrell has come in and is almost, if you like, the symbol of the defence losing a step, and I don't think the fans have particularly taken to him. On the bigger point about loan players, the youngsters, I think, are following a pattern that we've seen over the last few years, which is players come in from down south, youngsters, they start well, they show their ability, they're enthused because it's an opportunity for them to play in front of a big crowd, to play in front of passionate fans that they haven't had. It's first team minutes, it matters, unlike, you can play all the youth and reserve football you want, it's a different level. And then they dip, and I think that partly that might just be their bodies are not used to this amount of football. I mean, Ovia Jari has never played this amount of first team games, and I think that we're witnessing an element of that happening again, where after a promising start they dip. Now this happens to young players, your own young players, when you bring them through, where they come into the side, they start really well, we all get excited. This is not unique to Rangers, incidentally, it happens at most clubs, and then there's that dip as the sort of rush of adrenaline at being in a team, in a first team, and an important part of it goes, and then generally speaking, good management at the club is you would drop them out of the team. It becomes more complex with loan players because you obviously promised them minutes, otherwise they wouldn't have come. And I do wonder if there's a mental issue, Ian, that a player who is your player, who's there for 3-4 years, who's desperate to make it at your club, he has to go away and reevaluate and work hard and get back in the team. A lone player, if he's not playing well and he's, say, unhappy, there is that thing in the back of your mind of, well, I'm out of here in 6 months anyway. I'm not sure that they have the same impetus to go and rediscover their form and get back to what they were.
It's going to go back to David. All players are different, aren't they? If you look at a Jason Cummings, for example, who wasn't the youth academy player from Liverpool, but as an example, he came to Rangers. He was absolutely bursting to please. Didn't work, but it wasn't for his want of trying. If you look at an Ovie Ejaria, Ovie Ejaria, I think, pisses the fans off from time to time because he's not all action. He looks very lackadaisical, and therefore, when the chips are down and he looks lackadaisical, even if his play doesn't warrant it, if you know what I mean, that's what he's going to get labelled. And at the end of the day, these guys, they've cut the guys from Liverpool especially, they've come from a big club, and they've come to a big club. So Rangers being a huge institution shouldn't be a surprise to them. Playing for us might, and the demands of it might. But what I will say, David, is if they can't make it at Rangers, they certainly can make it at Liverpool. So all of them should be taking this chance to say, "Yep, I'm going to prove Klopp. I'm going to prove the world that I can absolutely do this." Ryan Kent, I think, has shown that the majority of his time. Ejaria, the jury's out, and Worrell from Nottingham Forest, I think, is I'd drive him down the road on January the 1st if I could. You're going to get hit and miss with lone players. I'm fairly sure that you're right. Some of them will think, I'm out of here in a period of time anyway. But I would really expect the right mentality from professional footballers to really take opportunities. And if they're not doing it, if they do have that mindset of doesn't really matter how I play, I had a bad game, I'm out of here soon, then no use for our club, thanks.
Now, obviously, we're without Jamie Murphy, we were without Scott Arfield, we were without Alfredo Morelos. These are important players for us, and these are important players in unlocking a defence and adding that little bit of magic. But I think there have been concerns that our midfield, you have a lot of similar types of players. And I think it was clear that yesterday, for example, Dundee were quite happy for Ryan Jack to have the ball because he's not a creative player. He's not somebody who's likely to thread through a killer ball or whatever. Do we have anyone in the squad at the moment, or is it a case of no, we absolutely have to go out and get someone who can do this? Because we've got players who are good and they've got a lot of great qualities, but that's not a string to their bow.
Excuse me, you look at yesterday and Jordan Rossiter comes in. We made a lot of changes, right? And I'm sure that disrupted the flow a little bit. But the flip side is we can't play as poorly as we played on Wednesday night and create not much, and there not be consequences. Rossiter came in to play alongside Ryan Jack, and straight away you're kind of scratching your head a little bit because it's almost a case of which one's going to drop deeper. I actually thought yesterday, as poor as he was, maybe or he has been since he came back his injury, I actually thought yesterday was kind of probably more ideal for Koulibaly, and just given the licence to you're not defending today, get yourself forward and try and pull that defence about a little bit. What we did instead was play Grezda, Candeas and Kent, and they all interchanged, and that was fine, but they weren't really moving Dundee about an awful lot. But we do have, at the minute certainly, with the likes of Graham Dorrans and Scott Arfield not available to us, we don't have players who are playing the killer ball. We don't have guys to unlock the defence. Ejaria came off the bench and frankly just looked disinterested, and that might be back to that lackadaisical style, but
I thought he looked.
Guys,
I actually thought he looked shit out of confidence. To be honest, there was one moment that I'm sure you've seen if you're on social media that's been gift where he got the ball on the edge of the box, tried the pirouette, didn't come off. He kind of then ran inside into trouble and fell over, and they took the ball off him. And he's more talented than that. He's a better player than that.
He reminded me of. Do you remember I think it was the 2011 League Cup final when we were ahead 2-1 in extra time, and Neil Lennon decided to bring Paddy McCourt on. And the first thing McCourt did was get the ball, run a little bit, he tried a Cruyff turn and fell on his arse. It was like that. And after that was him shot to bits, and he was getting a lot of the ball. Just not happening at all. There's back to what you said earlier, David, there's a kid that needs a wee bit of time out the team. But of course we've got him from Liverpool, so we're going to end up playing him. We're struggling. We're struggling with that 4-3-3, 4-2-3, whatever. We're struggling to unlock defences, especially when we don't have a forward in Alfredo Morelos on the park who's going to try and force it for you and try and bully the opposition a little bit and almost kind of create the gaps that way. It was just poor, real bad day at the office. And I think that the thing that grates most, aside from refereeing performances and linesmen and players being shit and all the rest of it, we were playing the team at the bottom of the league. Who up until very recently couldn't buy a point. And Kenny Miller came back and he got a goal, and that's all nice for him and all the rest of it. Not for us, but we created really next to nothing.
Yeah, we didn't. We can't say the keeper made a string of saves or we missed chances. We didn't create.
Yeah, and I found myself thinking midway through the second half, maybe at this moment our most creative players, James Tavernier. Can we get him into the middle of the park?
Well, I would agree with that, and the stats back you up, but I think one of the things that's happened is teams are now blocking that wing, very specifically that they are, and I think that was why Barisic came on yesterday, because I think that the manager thought, well, if they're concentrating on stopping Tav, that'll, and that may well happen, incidentally, as Barisic gets more fit, that if teams, Aberdeen did the same, where they said, right, if you stop James Tavernier, okay, I don't think you entirely stop Rangers, but you certainly put the handbrake on us. And I think that Aberdeen and Dundee both concentrated on him, whereas if Barisic is there, then they can't quite do that as much because they'll have the threat from the other side. And I think that was the thinking. But Barisic, although he whipped over a couple of good balls yesterday, there was just nothing up front. There was no movement. Lafferty fell out the game completely. And in the end up, we were just reduced to just lumping the ball in from wide.
Yeah, and of course that's the point that you're thinking, do you know what, Joe Worrell, you've had an absolute stinker, son, but why don't you go up front if all we're going to do is just lob the ball up? In the end up, Christ, Dundee could have stolen it.
Oh, yeah.
And this is 10 men Dundee at points had a 4v3 on us. Other teams would have finished as simple as that.
Yeah, it was a grim day, and I think that the frustration of doing all the hard work to get to the top of the league and then to blow it with two such poor and disappointing displays is what has annoyed the fans. But we take a break from league business this week to go to our final Europa League group game against Rapid Vienna, needing a victory to progress to the last 32. First things first, we've been critical, but if we progress to the last 32 after starting off in the first qualifier, that is one hell of an achievement.
Yeah, it would be remarkable. I've said in previous pods, David, that's what, 6 months, I think, 5.5 months, something like that, since our first game. And yes, we're going through a blip. And yes, the tone of our voices and the criticisms from us today are justified. Of course they are. But the flip side, of course, is look how far we've come in that time. Look at the amount of European matches we've played. You said it earlier, that yesterday was our 32nd game of the season. Thursday will be our 33rd. There's that maths degree coming to the fore there. And if we can get through, I never expected us to get beyond the third qualifying round. But before the start of the season, I thought, given the seeding and all the rest of it, that's probably as far as we'd go. I think what we've seen in Europe, I think people being bitterly disappointed with performances against Spartak Moscow, shows you that we have come far. We have progressed hugely as a team. We need to find a little bit of consistency and get a little bit of a run going, because we're not out of it. We're not out of it in the league, not by a long shot. We're only 2 points behind, albeit with a game in hand. We need to find a little bit of consistency. That has eluded us, absolutely, it's eluded us so far. But we're on to Thursday now, and it becomes essentially a bit of a cup final. It's almost your kind of winner takes all. I think we have to win. But flip side, of course, is Rapid Vienna play unsurprisingly in the Austrian League, and they're 8th out of a 12-team league. They drew 0-0 at home against Sturm Graz at the weekend. They are not ripping it up in Austria. So if we can happen to find some form somewhere, and Arfield will be back and Morelos is playing, then we've got every chance. So yes, it's been all doom and gloom about yesterday, because it deserves it, and yesterday was shit. But we can win. We can go there and win on Thursday. I've got no doubts about that, David.
Well, they're going to come out against us. They're not going to sit in. They're going to come out, and I think at home with the pressure of the crowd, although obviously what they need is different from what we need. But I think that there will be more room. You're not going to have the massed ranks of defenders unless we concede an early silly goal again, in which case they will just sit in and try and hit us in the break. So there is a chance for the players to express themselves. Arfield's available, Morelos is available. The players should, I think, try and take this as just a break from league duty and a break from the pressure of that, and just go out there and express themselves and play the football that we know they're capable of, Hoggy.
And they are, undoubtedly. If Ryan Kent is available and fit, then he probably plays with Candace on the other side. Arfield will likely, I would imagine, replace Ajaria. And we may
Ajaria didn't start yesterday, so I think he'll replace Rostita.
And then the questions around Koulibaly, Jack, does Barisic start? Does Halliday move into the middle of the park? Because, by God, I would have had him over what we had yesterday. So the one thing we will have for Thursday is some more options, and clearly our talisman Alfredo Morelos back. They will, you're right, come out. All they need is a point to go through, but they're also at home, so I would imagine they're not going to sit back. They're going to want to come out, I would imagine, and score early and try and kill the tie off. Hopefully that allows us space, but the one thing we've got to do is start with, how many times do we say this, David? Start with a bit of urgency, with a bit of pace, get our passing going, get our game going. That thing that we kind of failed to do in those past two games. We
have to defend better. We saw in Moscow that with a bit of space, we have players in the front lines who are capable, and I think Candace showed it, Middleton's shown it in this European run, Arfield, Morelos. We've got talent up there, but if we defend remotely like we defended in Moscow, then that will all be for naught.
If we defend, I think, any other game this season like we defended in Moscow, then we might not get another point. I expect Macaulay and Goldson. I expect Tavernier. I actually expect Barisic to start as well. And I expect us to almost get our best team out there in the park. We've got Hamilton, I think it is, next Sunday.
Yeah.
So, in normal terms, Hamilton would be a game where you could give players a rest, and it's at Ibrox and so on. But in reality, we've got two games coming up, which both of them are, if we want to progress, both of them are must win. I get that players are tired, but I'll go back to what I said earlier, David. We're going to have to go back to the tank. These guys are going to have to suck it up until what's the last game? December the 29th.
Yeah.
And then we've got Christmas, so we've got another 5 games, maybe 6, can't remember. It's a tough one, and I get it. You know, 35th game of the season coming up. It's almost a football season by Christmas. That's tough. But what would you do, David? Would you get effectively legs in the midfield, or would you go for Nigeria and hope for the best?
It's a tough one. I think I'd be looking at them and talking to them to assess not only fitness but confidence levels, because I think a few of them have taken a bit of a battering this week. I think Morelos and Arfield coming back is huge. I'd probably start with Candace. I don't think Kent can be fully fit given that he was just back anyway, so I'd probably start with young Middleton. Then in the midfield with the players that we've got, I think he will go for Jack Koulibaly and probably Ajaria. I think that will be the three. Jack Koulibaly and Arfield. I think that'll be the three, which understandably it works well in the European context. It has worked well in the past in the European context. Defensively, Macaulay would start for me. I'd be going with Macaulay and Goldson at the back, Halliday at left back. If Barisic might be an option, and if he is, I'd play him. But we'll need to wait and see what he does, what he comes up with. I do think that he'll need to start looking at maybe swapping about things like formation and changing the way that we're playing at the moment to try and overcome certain shortcomings we have, which is that lack of the killer ball. But I do think that team is capable of going over there and getting a result. I think that it says a lot that against Spartak we blew it for ourselves. You know, we did make the chances. We should have won the game. It was our own fault. And if we attack with that same vigour and defend better, then there's absolutely no reason Rangers can't go and get that result. And on top of that, they're going to have fantastic backing, Hoggy. I mean, the amount of fans going is incredible.
Thousands will go, and we take that for granted. We get a bit blasé about it. You know, it's Rangers, it's what we do. But here we are. It's going to be the 13th of December, a week and a half before Christmas, and we're going to take thousands of fans to Vienna to back the side. That in itself should inspire the players and give them that extra shot of adrenaline. I hope that the players aren't starting to take the fans for granted just because we turn out and just because we give vocal backing. The players should be standing back and thinking, I do need to give that extra 5-10% here, because you know the backing they have had this season has been remarkable. You know, hundreds of fans going to Russia, to the middle, to pretty much Asia. You know, Ufa, where I think if you draw a straight line south, Ufa's in line with Iraq. You know, we took 600-700 there. We've taken thousands everywhere else we've gone at massive expense. And I get it. You know, Rangers are back. Rangers back in the Europa League and loving it. Absolutely loving every minute of it. But don't take us for granted. And the thousands that go in Thursday night, stay safe. And I really, really hope the players dig it out, especially for the guys that go, because, as I say, massive expense, massive commitment in terms of time to get there and time off work, etc. And none of us should take that for granted.
Now, a good sign on the move, if you like, back to normality was the opening of the Rangers shop in St Enoch Square in Glasgow this weekend, Hoggy. Queues right out the block, even up until as we're recording at the moment. This is a strange situation, obviously, because of the whole Sports Direct thing, where Rangers have a club shop at the stadium that's full of old crap and nobody buys it, and yet they have their own shop in the, well, they don't because it's not technically a Rangers shop, but a Rangers shop is opened in the city centre that the club can't promote. But even so, it did my heart good, Hoggy, to see that opened again. It's
first and foremost, it's a cracking location. Beside the Scenic Centre, I think it's the old Maplin shop. So a great location. It looks great. You know, it's whitewashed and the real big sign, and so it looks great. Inside, the shop itself is well laid out, and to see the queues out the door, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. You've heard the reports all day on Monday of, queued out the door and down the road. Superb. And the club know that if folk are anything like me, I've not bought for the past few years for very obvious reasons, and I save my money, I put it aside every single year. And therefore, when the Jet Store Online started, David, as you know, I spent a Friday night frantically trying to get about what felt like 800 strips. Rangers fans want to spend money on good quality Rangers merchandise with the money by and large go to the club. That's no surprise whatsoever. And folk, especially in the run up to Christmas, are just shouting, "Take my blue pounds, please take them." And it does my heart the world of good to see that. And that's especially after such a poor result yesterday. That place is still queued out the door today. Folk love it. Rangers fans, we love our club. And yeah, we're going to have ups and downs. But given what we've been through, David, given all the stash and all the crap and the merchandise stuff, and that's just one of many, many, many things. It's that sign that we will back whoever's there to do that's got the club at heart and doing a good job. Take our money, and hopefully we can get out of the lease, out of the deal, and all the rest of it with Mike Ashley sooner rather than later, and get that store at Ibrox Stadium done up again, because it's we saw it. We were there on Friday night. We at the store at Ibrox. The Puma signs are up. The old kit's still there. It looks actually like something from another dimension, David.
Yeah, I mean it does. It's awful, and a testament to the situation we found ourselves in the last few years. But with each positive step, it gets us closer to where we want to go. And I think that's probably the frustration with the football side of it as well, Hoggy, is that we've been through so much shit that we are just desperate for success and desperate to come out of it and desperate to say, right, we are now officially back to where we want to be. And I think that's where the frustration comes from. But the reason I don't criticise fans who get like that, and I know that you see some things straight after a result like yesterday or Wednesday night, it's just an outpouring, when you see people post things, especially social media, where people will post things when they're angry. I don't think in the cold light of day they believe it, but it's understandable given what we've had to go through.
Of course it is, and if you look at the past 7 years and what we've been through, then people are more twitchy. They're more demanding when we have a string of good results and we look the part. And then when we don't get that consistency, let's face it, David, we get pods like this one, because our expectations have risen over the past 5.5 to 6 months to a level of we're back and we're challenging. Christ, we went top of the league last week in December for the first time in Christ knows how long. I think I had brown hair the last time. So therefore the expectation rises. So what Steven Gerrard and the players have to understand, because it's not going to change, that folk are frustrated. Folks' frustrations are through the roof. We are craving success. We're now at the stage where because we feel as if we're getting back to where we're getting back to, we're demanding success. That's a very different place to where we've been. And it's going to take some of the players by surprise. Some of them will fail. And we've seen that as well. We've seen that with some of the players who've been shipped out the door. And we're seeing it, frankly, with some of the squad just now who are not being able to keep the consistency going. But I'm a firm believer, David, and we shouldn't change. We are Rangers and we are demanding and we want our club to be the best and we believe that we are number one. So I don't want us to change. We might have to temper it as a support from time to time. You know what it's like, especially at Ibrox. Next Sunday, for example, I give it 30 seconds to the first moan and groan, the first misplaced pass. We do need to, I think, just take a breath at times and allow the players to play And it's hard because, let's face it, that the frustration in allowing the time and space doesn't exactly go hand in hand.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. Okay then, folks, thank you very much for joining us. A bit downbeat after the result, and obviously due to my man flu. But if you want to hear more from more upbeat podders, although not many after yesterday, then you can visit our site, which is patreon.com/heart and hand. And there you will get up to 5 new shows every single day. You can also visit our website, heartandhand.co.uk, for our full range of blogs and merch. Just time to thank my executive producers in London, Mr. Mike Lee and Mr. Paul Miles, and to thank my guest, the wonderful Mr. Ian Hogg.
I'd love to say it was a pleasure, but it was maybe your pleasure, David.
Aye, probably. Okay, folks, thanks for listening. Now, no Heart and Hand extra this week because obviously we're playing on Thursday, but we'll be back with a bumper episode of this show this time next week. Till then, take care. Cheers. Bye.